Welcome back to our English Learning Podcast. If you are listening to this in the morning, you probably have a warm drink in your hand right now. Today we are talking about a drink that wakes up the entire world. We are going to explore why we love coffee so much, and we will learn a lot of great vocabulary along the way. Today's episode is designed for CEFR level, B1 learners. That means we will speak at a natural but clear speed, and we will explain new and interesting words as we go.
I am so incredibly excited for this topic. I am actually drinking a giant cup of coffee right now. But before we dive completely into the topic, I think we should quickly introduce ourselves to any new listeners.
That is a wonderful idea. I am Lisa, and I have been an English teacher for many years. My passion is helping students improve their spoken English so they can feel confident in everyday situations.
And I am Jack. I focus on practical English, the kind of English you actually hear on the street, in restaurants, or in coffee shops. I want to help you understand real conversations.
We are so happy to have you listening. So, Jack, let us start with the biggest question of the day. Why do you think people all over the world are so obsessed with coffee?
That is a big question, I think, for many people. It is not just about the taste. It is about the routine. It is about how you start your day.
I completely agree with that. The word routine is great here. A routine is something you do regularly, usually in the same order. For me, my morning routine always starts with making coffee.
Exactly. When my alarm goes off in the morning, I am usually very tired. I feel what we call brain fog. Brain fog means your mind is not clear yet. You cannot think straight.
Yes, brain fog is such a common feeling. You feel slow, maybe a little confused, and you just want to go back to sleep.
But then, I walk into the kitchen. I open the bag of coffee beans, and that smell just hits me. The smell of fresh coffee is almost like magic.
We have a specific word for the smell of food or drink, and that word is aroma. The aroma of coffee is famous. Even people who do not like to drink coffee usually love the aroma of it.
That is so true. I have friends who only drink tea, but they always tell me they love walking into a coffee shop just for the aroma. It feels warm and comforting.
So the aroma wakes you up a little bit. What happens next in your routine?
Well, I use a machine to grind the beans. To grind means to crush the hard coffee beans into a soft powder. The sound is very loud, but it tells my brain that it is time to wake up.
And then you add hot water and you brew it. Brewing is the process of making the coffee. You let the hot water pass through the ground beans.
Yes, and while it is brewing, I just stand there waiting. It is a quiet moment before the busy workday begins. It gives me a few minutes of peace.
I think that peaceful moment is a big reason why we love it. It is a small gift we give ourselves every single morning. It is a moment to breathe.
Let me ask you a question, Lisa. Did you always love coffee? Did you drink it when you were younger?
Oh, absolutely not. When I was a teenager, I thought coffee tasted terrible. I thought it was completely bitter and impossible to drink.
Bitter is a great vocabulary word. It is a strong, sharp taste, the opposite of sweet. Lemons are sour, but dark coffee and dark chocolate are bitter.
Exactly. I had a huge sweet tooth when I was younger. Having a sweet tooth means you love sugary things like candy, cake, and sweet drinks.
So how did you change from hating coffee to loving it?
It happened when I took a trip to Italy in my early 20s. Italy has a very famous and rich coffee culture. You cannot really avoid it there.
I have heard that. People in Italy drink espresso all day long, right?
Yes, they do. But they do not sit down with a giant paper cup for hours like we do in many other countries. They stand at the bar, drink a tiny cup of very strong espresso, and then leave.
That sounds intense. How did you handle the strong taste?
Well, the first time I ordered one, I just copied what the local people were doing. I stood at the bar, ordered an espresso, and drank it quickly. It was so strong that my eyes opened wide.
I can imagine. It must have been quite a shock to your system.
It was, but what I noticed was the energy it gave me. After that small cup, I felt so awake and happy. I could walk around the city for hours without getting tired.
That is the power of caffeine. Caffeine is the natural chemical in coffee and tea that makes you feel awake and gives you energy.
Yes, caffeine is definitely the main reason we keep going back to it. After a few days in Italy, I started looking forward to that bitter taste. It became an acquired taste.
An acquired taste. That is a brilliant phrase for our B1 learners. If something is an acquired taste, it means you do not like it the first time you try it. You have to try it many times before you start to enjoy it.
Exactly. Beer, olives, and dark coffee are usually acquired tastes. You learn to love them over time. What about you, Jack? What is your first memory of coffee?
My story is a little less romantic than a trip to Italy. My first real experience with coffee was during my university years.
Let me guess. You had a big test, and you needed to stay awake all night to study.
You guessed it perfectly. We call that pulling an all-nighter. It means you stay awake for the entire night to study or work. I had a huge history exam the next morning.
Pulling an all-nighter is never fun. You must have been exhausted.
I was falling asleep at my desk. My roommate saw me and said I needed a strong pick-me-up. A pick-me-up is anything that gives you a quick boost of energy or makes you feel better.
So your roommate made you some coffee.
He did, but it was not fancy coffee. It was cheap instant coffee. Instant coffee is the kind that comes in a jar as a powder. You just add hot water and stir. It does not need to be brewed.
I know exactly what you are talking about. Instant coffee is very convenient, but the taste is usually not very good.
It was awful. It tasted like burnt dirt. But I was desperate, so I added about 3 spoons of sugar and a lot of milk to hide the bitter taste.
Did it work? Did you stay awake for your history exam?
It worked too well. I drank 2 big mugs of it. My heart was beating so fast, and I felt like I could run a marathon. I studied all night and passed the exam.
That is a great success story, even if the coffee tasted terrible.
But the funny thing is, after that night, I started making a cup every morning before class. I stopped adding so much sugar. Slowly, I started to appreciate the real flavor of the coffee.
That is the perfect example of an acquired taste. You went from drinking cheap instant coffee with lots of sugar to enjoying a proper cup.
Now I drink it completely black. Drinking coffee black means you do not add any milk, cream, or sugar to it, just the coffee and the water.
I am impressed. I still need a splash of milk in my morning coffee. A splash just means a very small amount of liquid.
Everyone has their own preference, and that is another reason coffee is so popular worldwide. It is incredibly customizable. You can make it exactly how you want it.
That is very true. If you go into a modern coffee shop today, the menu is huge. There are so many options that it can actually be confusing for English learners.
It is confusing for native speakers, too. You have lattes, cappuccinos, flat whites, Americanos, cold brews, and so many different types of milk.
Let us break some of those down to help our listeners. The base for most coffee shop drinks is a shot of espresso.
Right, espresso is a very small, very strong amount of coffee. If you add hot water to it, it becomes an Americano. It tastes similar to regular brewed coffee.
And if you add steamed milk to the espresso, you get drinks like a latte or a cappuccino. The main difference is the amount of milk foam on top.
And we cannot forget about iced coffee. In my opinion, iced coffee is amazing, especially in the summer.
I love iced coffee too. Putting ice in coffee used to be strange in some countries, but now it is popular almost everywhere.
So we have talked about the morning routine, the taste, and the caffeine. But I think there is another huge reason why we love coffee so much.
What is that?
The social aspect. Coffee shops are places where people meet. They are community spaces.
You hit the nail on the head. That is a great idiom. To hit the nail on the head means you are exactly right about something. Coffee shops are social hubs.
Think about it. When you want to catch up with an old friend, what do you usually say? You say, let us go get coffee.
Yes, going for coffee is low pressure. It is not as expensive or formal as going to a restaurant for dinner. It is relaxed.
And even if you go alone, it still feels social. I love going to a cafe with my laptop to do some work.
Me too. There is something comforting about the background noise. You hear the espresso machine, the quiet conversations, the soft music playing in the background.
We call that ambient noise. It is background noise that is not distracting. For many people, ambient noise actually helps them focus and concentrate better.
I am definitely one of those people. If my house is too quiet, my mind starts to wander. But in a busy coffee shop, I can put my headphones on and work for hours.
Since we are talking about coffee shops, I think this is the perfect time to give our listeners some practical speaking tips.
I agree. Going to a cafe in an English-speaking country can be stressful if you do not know what to say. The lines are usually long, and the staff talk very fast.
Exactly. So our first practical speaking tip is about how to order naturally and politely. Many learners make the mistake of translating directly from their native language.
Yes, they often walk up to the counter and say, "I want a coffee," or "Give me a latte."
While people will understand you if you say I want, it sounds a little bit rude or demanding in English. We like to soften our requests.
To soften means to make something sound more polite and gentle. Instead of saying "I want," what should our learners say, Jack?
The most natural and common way to order is to say, can I get a? For example, can I get a medium latte, please?
That is perfect. "Can I get a medium latte, please?" It sounds friendly and natural. Another great option is to say, "I will have a," for example, "I will have an Americano."
I will have is very common. You can also use I would like a, but usually we contract it to I'd like a black coffee, please.
Let us do a quick role play to demonstrate this for our listeners. I will be the barista. A barista is the person who makes and serves the coffee. Jack, you will be the customer.
Sounds good, I am ready.
Next in line, please. "Hi there, what can I get for you today?"
Hi, how are you? Can I get a large iced latte, please?
Sure thing. Would you like regular milk or oat milk with that?
Oat milk, please. And could I also get a blueberry muffin?
Absolutely. That will be $6.50. Your drink will be ready at the end of the counter.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And scene, that was perfect, Jack. It was quick, polite, and completely natural.
Notice how I greeted you first. I said, hi, how are you? In English-speaking cultures, especially in the US or the UK, it is very common to greet the cashier or barista before you order.
Yes, a simple hello or how are you goes a long way. It shows respect. You also use the word please, which is essential.
Now, let us move to our second practical speaking tip. This is a tip that can really help you sound fluent when you need a few seconds to think.
I love this tip. When you are standing at the counter and looking at a huge menu, your mind might go blank. You might forget the English word for what you want.
It happens to everyone. Native speakers forget what they want too. The tip is to use natural filler phrases to buy yourself some time.
To buy time means to do something that gives you a few extra seconds to think or decide.
Instead of just standing there in total silence or saying for a long time, you can say, let me see, or just give me 1 second to decide.
Yes, you can also look at the menu and say, "Everything looks so good. What do you recommend?"
Asking for a recommendation is a fantastic trick. It takes the pressure off you and it gets the barista talking, which is great listening practice.
Another good filler phrase is, "Let me actually get." For example, you start to order but you change your mind. You can say, "I will have a tea." Wait, let me actually get a coffee instead.
These little phrases, like let me actually get, make you sound incredibly natural. It sounds like you are thinking in English.
Let us talk about what happens after you get your coffee. Sometimes, the cafe is crowded and you have to sit near someone else.
That brings up a great opportunity for small talk. Small talk is light. casual conversation about unimportant things like the weather or the busy cafe.
Some people hate small talk, but it is a very important social skill in English. It helps build a friendly atmosphere.
If you are waiting in a long line for coffee, you can look at the person next to you and say, "The line is moving really slowly today, isn't it?"
Or you can comment on the weather. Wow, it is really raining hard out there. A hot coffee is exactly what I need.
Exactly. You do not need to have a deep conversation. Just one or two friendly sentences can make you feel more confident speaking English with strangers.
Speaking of feeling confident, I think one thing that holds learners back is the fear of mispronouncing a word on the menu.
Oh, definitely. Coffee menus have words from Italian, French, and Spanish. Even native English speakers mispronounce words like macchiato or croissant.
That is such a good point to remember. If you say a word wrong, the barista will not laugh at you. They hear people mispronounce things hundreds of times a day.
Usually they will just confirm what you want. If you order a hot chocolate but pronounce it strangely, they will just ask, "You want a hot chocolate, right?" And you just say yes.
It is all about communication, not perfection. If you get the drink you wanted, your English was successful.
Let us shift back to our coffee habits. We talked about the morning routine, but what about the afternoon? Do you drink coffee later in the day, Lisa?
I try not to. If I drink caffeine after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I will not be able to sleep at night. I will just lie in bed staring at the ceiling.
I have the exact same problem, but around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I always feel really tired. We call that the afternoon slump.
The afternoon slump is that heavy, sleepy feeling you get after lunch. Your energy drops, and it is very hard to focus on work.
So what do you do to fight the afternoon slump if you cannot drink regular coffee?
Usually, I will switch to decaf. Decaf is short for decaffeinated coffee. It is coffee that has had almost all of the caffeine removed.
That is a smart choice. You still get the warm feeling and the nice aroma, but without the energy boost that keeps you awake all night.
Yes, exactly. Or sometimes I will have herbal tea like peppermint or chamomile. They are naturally caffeine-free. What about you? Do you drink decaf?
To be honest, no, I am a bit stubborn. If I need a warm drink in the afternoon, I will make a very weak green tea. But mostly, I just try to drink a glass of cold water to wake myself up.
That is probably a much healthier habit. Too much coffee can actually make you feel worse. Have you ever had a caffeine crash?
Oh yes, a caffeine crash is terrible. It happens when you drink too much coffee, you feel a huge rush of energy, but then an hour later your energy completely disappears.
You crash, you suddenly feel exhausted, your head might hurt, and you feel a little bit grumpy. Grumpy means easily annoyed or in a bad mood.
I am definitely grumpy when I have a caffeine crash. That is why I try to limit myself to just 2 cups a day now. One in the morning and maybe a small one right before lunch.
Moderation is key. That is a great phrase to remember. Moderation is key means that doing things in reasonable amounts is the best way to live.
You know, talking about all of this is making me want to go to my local cafe. I love the barista there. He already knows my order before I even reach the counter.
We call that being a regular. When you go to the same shop or restaurant so often that the staff knows you, you are a regular. It feels really nice to have that connection.
It does. He sees me walk in the door and he starts preparing an iced latte with oat milk. I do not even have to speak sometimes, but I always ask him how his day is going.
That is exactly what we were talking about earlier with the social aspect. Coffee is just the excuse to connect with other people.
Whether it is chatting with a barista, meeting a friend, or just sitting alone watching the world go by, coffee culture is really about slowing down.
I love how you phrased that. Watching the world go by. It means sitting quietly and observing the busy lives of other people around you. It is a very peaceful activity.
Well, we have covered so much ground today. We talked about routines, tastes, ordering at the cafe, and fighting the afternoon slump.
We really did. I hope our B1 learners found this episode helpful and picked up some new vocabulary that they can use immediately.
Let me just quickly review a few of the key words we discussed. We talked about brain fog, which is when your mind is tired and unclear.
We talked about an acquired taste, something you learn to like over time. And we also talked about a pick-me-up, something that gives you a quick boost of energy.
And do not forget our speaking tips. When ordering, use polite phrases like "can I get a" or "I will have a," instead of just saying "I want."
And if you need time to think, use filler phrases like "let me see" or "what do you recommend?"
As we end today's episode, I want to give our listeners a little bit of motivation. Learning a language is exactly like acquiring a taste for coffee.
Oh, I love that comparison. Tell us more.
At first, learning English can feel overwhelming. It might even feel a little bitter or difficult, just like a strong cup of black coffee. You might make mistakes and feel tired.
Yes. But if you keep practicing every day, it becomes a natural part of your routine. You stop translating in your head and you start enjoying the process.
Exactly. One day you will walk into a cafe, order your drink in perfect English, have a quick chat with the barista, and realize how far you have come.
That is such a beautiful way to end our discussion. Do not give up, keep listening, keep practicing, and be proud of your progress.
Thank you all so much for spending your coffee break with us today. We really appreciate you tuning in and practicing your English with us.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please try to use one of the new phrases you learned today. Go to a cafe, order in English if you can, or just practice the dialogue in front of a mirror.
We will be back next week with another easy English conversation to help you learn fast and speak naturally.
Until then, have a wonderful week and enjoy your next cup of coffee.
Bye everyone, see you next time.